At the time, it was awkward. I was a bit shocked.
I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
Prince Harry has just revealed something shocking, something that could change everything about Meghan Markle. For years, their story has been full of surprises, drama, and mystery. But this new discovery is different. It's something no one saw coming, something that could turn their entire world upside down. People have always questioned Meghan's past, her choices, and even her true intentions. Some believe in her, others doubt her. But now, Harry has found something that might finally bring real answers. What is it? How will it change the way we see Meghan forever? The truth is out, and nothing will ever be the same again. The shocking discovery. Something big has just come out, and it might change everything we thought we knew about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. It's the kind of revelation that makes you sit up and ask, wait, what just happened? Prince Harry has discovered something that not only affects Meghan, but also shakes the very foundation of their relationship with the royal family. This isn't just another news story. This could explain so much about why they left the royal family, why they spoke out, and why the world has been so divided about them. According to sources, Harry recently came across new information, something he didn't know before. Some say it was a leaked document. Others believe it was a confession from someone close to the royal family. But whatever it was, it changed his perspective. It wasn't just about how the media treated Meghan. It was about the role certain members of the royal family may have played behind the scenes. For years, Meghan has said she felt unsupported, isolated, and even targeted. She claimed there were efforts to make her life difficult, to control the narrative, and even to push her out. Many dismissed her as dramatic or exaggerating. But now, with this new discovery, Harry is seeing things differently. If this revelation proves true, then Meghan may have been right all along. How he reacted. Imagine discovering something that makes you rethink everything. That's what Harry is going through. He always believed that leaving the royal family was the right choice. But this new information might be making him realize just how deep the situation really was. Was he angry? Absolutely. People close to him say he felt betrayed, not just for himself, but for Meghan. He has spent years defending her, standing by her side, and trying to protect her. But if this revelation shows that people in his own family worked against them, then that's a level of betrayal no one can prepare for. Harry has always been emotional when it comes to Meghan. We've seen him tear up when talking about how the media treated his mother, Princess Diana. And we've seen the same fire in his eyes when speaking about Meghan's struggles. But this time, it's different. Because now, it's not just about public perception, it's about his own family's involvement. Does he regret leaving the royal family? Probably not. But this could make him regret ever trusting certain people within it, and that's a painful thing to realize. How Meghan feels about it. For Meghan, this moment might be both heartbreaking and validating. Imagine spending years trying to tell people your truth, only to be told you're making it up. And then finally, someone, especially your husband, finds the proof. That's what's happening here. Has Meghan responded publicly? Not yet. But if we know Meghan, she will wait for the right moment. Whether through an interview, a documentary, or even just through sources close to her, we will hear her side. And when we do, it will be powerful. Because this isn't just about the royal family anymore. It's about truth. It's about what she went through, what she survived, and how she came out stronger. If this revelation proves her right, then she finally has something she never had before. Undeniable proof that she wasn't just making noise. But at the same time, this is painful for her. Because while she has moved on, while she has built a life with Harry and their children in the US, this discovery forces her to relive the past. And that's not easy. Impact on the royal family. So, how is Buckingham Palace reacting to all of this? The answer is silence. Total silence. And that silence speaks volumes. Whenever something controversial about the royal family comes out, they follow one simple rule: never complain, never explain. But sometimes, silence is louder than words. And right now, the world is watching, waiting to see if they will finally break that rule. Behind closed doors, sources say there is tension. The royal family has already dealt with so much drama because of Harry and Meghan. The Oprah interview, the Netflix series, the book Spare. They thought the worst was over. But this new discovery? It's bringing back all those old wounds. And the biggest question now is, who in the family knew about this? Who was involved? And most importantly, will anyone take responsibility? King Charles, Prince William, and Kate's role. Let's talk about the three people who are most affected by this. King Charles, Prince William, and Kate Middleton. For King Charles, this is another blow to his already complicated relationship with Harry. As a father, he may feel sad that things have reached this point. But as a king, he has to protect the monarchy. Will he reach out to Harry? Maybe. But will he admit any wrongdoing? Highly unlikely. Then, there's Prince William. His relationship with Harry has been cold for a while now. They were once the closest brothers, but now they barely speak. If this discovery suggests that William knew something and didn't tell Harry, that could make things even worse between them. And finally, there's Kate. She has always been seen as the perfect royal. But what if this new information changes that? What if she was more involved in the Meghan drama than people realized? That's a question many are now asking. Will there be consequences? This could change everything for Harry. Right now, he and Meghan are already out of the royal family, but they still have connections. They still have titles. They are still technically the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. But could this be the final straw? Could the royal family strip them of their titles completely? Some royal experts say yes. Others believe the family will just try to ignore it and move on. But one thing is clear. This will affect Harry's place in the royal family forever. What's next for Harry and Meghan? So, what happens now? Will Harry and Meghan speak out? Knowing them, they won't stay silent for long. Whether it's through a statement, an interview, or even another Netflix special, they will share their side. And when they do, it will be big. But will they ever return to the UK? That's a tough question. If this discovery makes Harry lose even more trust in his family, then the chances of him ever moving back are close to zero. At the same time, if this revelation forces the royal family to admit their mistakes, could there be a path for reconciliation? For now, it seems like Harry and Meghan are focused on moving forward, but the past keeps pulling them back in. Public opinion shift. The final and biggest question. How does the world see Meghan now? For her supporters, this is proof that she was always telling the truth, that she was mistreated, that she deserved better. For her critics, well, some may still not believe her. But even they will have to admit, if Harry himself has uncovered something, then there's more to the story than they thought. This could be a turning point. Meghan has faced so much backlash over the years. But if this new discovery truly changes everything, then maybe, just maybe, people will finally see her differently. Whatever happens next, one thing is clear. This changes everything. Prince Harry's discovery has left more questions than answers, and the world is watching closely to see what comes next. Will this bring Meghan Markle into a new light, or will it only add to the mystery surrounding her? Only time will tell. If you found this story interesting, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more updates. Hit the notification bell so you never miss the latest twists and turns in this ongoing saga. Stay tuned, there's always more to the story. The bodyguard says that the image of her awake, even if somewhat disoriented, is both heartbreaking and comforting. It's comforting because she was not instantly gone. Heartbreaking because it highlights that help arrived, but still couldn't save her. He also indicates that Diana actually had a faint pulse while being transferred to the ambulance. That small sign of life gave paramedics hope that they could pull her through once they got to the hospital. He mentions how the fireman, or Gallon, was stunned when he learned the victim he tried to save was Princess Diana. He had no clue who she was in the immediate moment. He was just doing his job, attempting to save a blonde crash victim with minimal visible injuries. The bodyguard insists this detail underlines why so many claims about a conspiracy to have her killed don't ring true. Nothing about the crash scene looked staged. It was chaos and confusion, and no one had a clue they were dealing with royalty. just people in dire need of help. In the ambulance, Diana slipped in and out of consciousness. She reportedly went into cardiac arrest, prompting frantic attempts at CPR. The bodyguard has heard from those who were there that for a few short seconds, it seemed like the medical team got her heart beating again. That glimmer of hope didn't last. The internal injuries that no one could immediately see would prove fatal. She passed away at the hospital hours later, while surgeons tried to fix the rupture near her heart. To this day, people argue about whether things could have been different if Diana had been rushed to the hospital faster, or if the ambulance had used a different route. The bodyguard is honest in his stance. We'll never know. He's heard the paramedics argue that the French approach to emergency care is different from the British style, that on-scene stabilization took priority over immediate transport. Regardless, it's clear Diana was far more severely hurt than her outward appearance suggested. In the end, her final words were likely the bewildered murmur of someone who realized something horrible had happened, but wasn't totally aware of how life-threatening it was. The paparazzi dilemma. The final puzzle piece is the paparazzi. For a while, the entire world blamed them, and many still do. Some say that if it weren't for the relentless chase, the driver wouldn't have sped, and Diana wouldn't have died in that tunnel. Others argue that while the paparazzi's behavior was bad, the bigger problem was the presence of an intoxicated driver behind the wheel. The bodyguard offers a more nuanced view. In his mind, the paparazzi were definitely contributing to the tension and panic, but the entire security apparatus around Diana had collapsed under the weight of her newfound independence. He insists that the paparazzi's aggression was no new phenomenon. Diana had faced them from the moment reporters learned of her relationship with Prince Charles all those years ago. She was used to stepping off a curb while a cluster of cameras blocked her path. She had even cooperated with some journalists in the past, trying to harness the media's power to promote her charitable causes. But her romance with Dodi brought a new level of frenzy. Tabloids couldn't get enough of the millionaire's playboy son and the world's most famous ex-royal. Everyone wanted that exclusive shot, maybe a kiss, a whisper, a moment of tension. The financial rewards for such photos were enormous, spurring the paparazzi to drive recklessly through Paris in pursuit. Yet the bodyguard says it's too simplistic to say the paparazzi alone caused the crash. He points out that Dodi was also determined to slip away undetected, rushing out into the night against any better judgment. The security detail was so scattered that they ended up relying on a deputy head of Ritz security with an unconfirmed blood alcohol level. The bodyguard calls it a perfect storm. Sure, the paparazzi's pushy presence was the flashpoint, but every step up to that point was flawed. He believes that if any single safeguard had been in place, say, if a professional chauffeur with a sober background had been driving, Diana might have arrived safely at Dodi's apartment. The paparazzi were intrusive and callous, but they weren't the sole reason the car crashed at high speed. He also remembers hearing about how some paparazzi, after the accident, rushed forward with cameras instead of offering help. That, he says, is a moment that reveals how twisted the tabloid culture was. Emergency personnel had to push them back. Meanwhile, the bodyguard was fielding frantic calls from staff wanting updates on Diana's condition. Some paparazzi claimed they were just doing their jobs, while others insisted they had tried to help once they realized how severe the crash was. Regardless, the damage was done. In the months and years after Diana's death, there was a global outcry over paparazzi tactics. People demanded new laws, new protections. Yet, the bodyguard feels that the world has a short memory. Over time, sensational pictures still fetch high prices, and paparazzi culture hasn't disappeared. In his view, Diana's death could have led to a real overhaul, ensuring celebrities or public figures were better shielded from reckless pursuit. Instead, the conversation fizzled out, overshadowed by conspiracy theories, official investigations, and changing headlines. He calls the entire night a giant security failure, because so many systems that should have protected Diana left her exposed. She was no longer a royal highness with tight palace protocols, and she hadn't yet established her own bulletproof network of experienced security. Dodi's wealth and connections, ironically, did not translate into the safest possible environment. The paparazzi just turned up the pressure, turning a risky strategy into a lethal one. Confrontations with the royal establishment and legal hurdles. When the shocking car crash in Paris claimed Princess Diana's life, millions worldwide turned to the royal family for comfort and answers. Many people felt the monarchy should have offered a warmer, more transparent response to the tragedy. Suddenly, a quiet tension seeped out into the open. Private frustrations boiled over, and individuals searched for someone to blame. In the middle of this storm stood the princess's on and off security circle, a small group of men charged with keeping her safe, yet powerless on that fateful night. Eventually, one of these men chose to speak out. For years, the bodyguard had been more than just a silent figure in Diana's orbit. He knew the lines of succession, the restrictions of palace protocol, and the consequences of stepping out of place. But in the aftermath of the accident, the royal establishment tried to close ranks. That's when he realized there might be more at stake than simply defending the public image of the monarchy. Documents needed signing, hush-hush agreements were laid on the table, and he braced for confrontation. Some key palace aides wanted a smooth, simple narrative. Yes, it was all a terrible accident. Blame the driver. Condolences to the family. Let us move on. But the bodyguard felt something else brewing. Countless awkward questions nobody wanted to address. Had the princess been left with subpar protection once her divorce was finalized? Why did everything feel so uncoordinated that night in Paris? Why were certain eyewitness accounts brushed aside? The tension with the monarchy did not take the form of a flashy showdown in the corridors of Buckingham Palace, but rather subtle forms of pressure. Insiders murmured about whether the bodyguard should sign non-disclosure papers. Close associates hinted that legal trouble might arise if he ever contradicted official statements. To him, it was all too obvious that some corners of the royal establishment saw him as a loose end, someone who had no official place in the firm once Diana was gone. Others within the palace were more empathetic. They quietly admitted there was a deep sadness in how Diana's final hours played out, and they feared the scandal could spin out of control if too many conflicting stories emerged. The bodyguard saw it from both angles. The monarchy had lost one of its brightest stars, and the entire institution was staggering under public grief and growing media hostility. He also became wrapped up in the complicated swirl of legal proceedings. French authorities launched an investigation into the crash. British officials monitored from across the channel, keen to see how the blame game would unfold. Paparazzi who had chased Diana's car were briefly detained, then released. Some tabloids even tested the waters of sensational conspiracy theories, claiming that Diana had been targeted by shady forces. The bodyguard recalls feeling torn between his loyalty to the memory of the princess and the rules that came with any brush against royal life. Stepping forward could place him on a collision course with powerful individuals who had no interest in seeing the official reports questioned. He wasn't alone. Other staff members, including the late Diana's aides and butlers, also faced tough choices about talking to the media or cooperating with various legal teams. A few who had once been close to the princess gave interviews that stoked further allegations of a cover-up or hints of neglected safety protocols. The bodyguard, though, wanted to keep his head above water, mindful of not just the monarchy's lawyers, but also Dodi Fayed's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, a man determined to prove a larger plot was at work. The tug-of-war between different factions left him exhausted. Why he's breaking his silence now? After the crash, the bodyguard didn't immediately rush to the press. He was haunted by guilt and plagued by nightmares about that chaotic night in the Pont de l'Alma underpass. He knew his story could easily be twisted or overshadowed by the frenzy of tabloid headlines clamoring for shocking details. For years, he remained in the background, trying to find normalcy in a world that could not stop talking about Princess Diana's death. When he looked in the mirror, he saw the face of someone who felt he had let down the one person he was supposed to protect. No matter how many times people pointed out that he wasn't the driver, and that Diana had made her own choices that night, he still shouldered the regret. He also carried around his memories of Diana. How she sipped tea with staff in the early evening, how she quietly supported her sons, and how she faced cameras with an almost unearthly calm. But he was aware of her private pain as well. Opinions about Diana had become polarized. Some cast her as a saintly figure. Others claimed she was manipulative. He knew her best as a kind, flawed individual under too much pressure. He found it increasingly painful to watch her legacy boil down to conspiracy theories, paparazzi standoffs, and old footage of that final summer with Dodi Fayed. Every few years, major anniversaries of Diana's passing triggered a wave of press coverage. The bodyguard would get calls from old colleagues or journalists, each seeking exclusive anecdotes. He consistently refused, telling himself it was better to let the official narrative stand. But time can change perspective. As he saw documentaries and articles sensationalize the same old angles, he began to suspect that people might benefit from a fresh viewpoint. Someone who had lived in her shadow. Someone who had no interest in fanning conspiracy flames, but also no desire to whitewash the chaos of that final night. Why speak out now? He says it was a slow process, not a single event. He began talking confidentially to a therapist, struggling with the trauma of seeing the princess lying in the wrecked car, her eyes sometimes fluttering as first responders tried to keep her alive. He confesses to nights spent awake, replaying the same images, headlights cutting through smoky air, paparazzi yelling. The terrifying moment he realized it was Diana in mortal peril. As the nightmares persisted, he felt a need for catharsis, not just for himself, but for the public that still aches when they remember those headlines. So he decided enough was enough. He was done hiding behind the hush-hush environment that typically surrounds royal staff.
The palace has just issued this statement.
The courtroom falls silent, then screaming. Queen Camila, the woman who once walked with grace and power, is no longer calm. Her life sentence has just been announced, and something inside her snaps. She throws off her royal mask, revealing a side of her no one has ever seen. Judges freeze, guards rush forward. People in the room gasp, shocked by what's happening, but Camila doesn't care. She lashes out, knocking over chairs, shoving anyone who gets too close. Her eyes burn with fury. She shouts at the judge, at the lawyers, at the guards holding her back. This isn't the same queen the world once knew. This is a woman who has lost everything, and she's not going down quietly. What made her lose control? And how did it come to this? Background. How did Camila end up on trial? No one could have ever imagined that Queen Camila would one day sit in a courtroom fighting for her life. But here we are. It all started years ago when Camila finally became queen. Some said she was the woman who stood by King Charles through thick and thin. Others, however, always saw her as the royal family's biggest mistake. After becoming queen, Camila enjoyed all the power that came with the crown. But with power came greed. At least that's what the prosecutors claimed. Over the years, rumors started floating around. People whispered about Camila misusing royal funds, lavish parties, expensive jewelry, secret getaways, all funded by money that was meant for the people. The press picked up on this quickly, and the media ran wild with stories of missing funds and secret offshore accounts. As if that wasn't enough, there were also talks about Camila abusing her power inside the palace. Some former staff came forward, claiming that she treated them horribly. They said she would scream at them, make their lives miserable, and even threaten to get them fired if they didn't obey her every word. For years, these stories were brushed under the rug, but the list of accusations just kept growing. On top of everything, conspiracy theories took over the internet. Some people started believing that Camila had been plotting her way to the throne for years. There were crazy claims that she had even pushed Princess Diana out of the way to make room for herself. Of course, no one could ever prove that, but the theory stayed alive and kept getting bigger. Slowly, the public began to turn against her. At first, they didn't believe the rumors. But when more and more evidence came out, things changed. People started calling her the evil queen. News channels debated her guilt every night. The royal family tried to stay silent, hoping it would all die down. But it didn't. It only got worse. Finally, after months of investigations, Camila was put on trial. It was the scandal of the century. Cameras lined up outside the court. Reporters fought for a front-row seat, and the world waited with bated breath to see what would happen next. No one thought it would come to this, but the evidence was too much. There was no turning back now. The verdict: life sentence shocks the world. The courtroom was packed. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone waited for the judge to speak, holding their breath. The jury had made their decision, and now it was time for the final blow. The judge looked right at Camila, his face stern and serious. "Queen Camila," he said, "for your crimes against the people, this court sentences you to life in prison." The moment those words left his mouth, the room exploded. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Some people even started whispering to each other, unable to believe what they just heard. Camila, who had been sitting tall and proud all this time, suddenly went pale. Her mouth dropped open. For the first time, she looked scared, truly scared. She turned her head slowly, looking at the royal family sitting in the front row. King Charles sat frozen, his face blank. Prince William didn't flinch. Some even said he looked relieved, almost as if he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Kate sat beside him, her face cold, her eyes unreadable. Not a single tear was shed. The media wasted no time. Within minutes, breaking news hit every TV screen. Queen Camila sentenced to life. Britain stunned. No one had expected it to end like this. But the worst was yet to come. The meltdown. Camila snaps. As soon as the judge finished speaking, Camila completely lost control. It was like watching a volcano explode. She shot up from her seat, her face red with rage. "You can't do this to me!" she screamed, her voice cracking. "I am your queen!" The judge tried to stay calm, but Camila wasn't done. She started pointing at the jury, calling them liars and traitors. "You've all been paid off! This is a setup! A bloody setup!" she yelled. Then she turned her anger toward everyone in the courtroom. She cursed the royal aides sitting nearby, screaming that they had betrayed her. "I made you! I made all of you!" she shrieked. "You ungrateful peasants!" Security guards rushed to stop her, but Camila wasn't going down quietly. She grabbed whatever she could, a glass of water, papers from the desk, and threw them across the room. One glass shattered near the judge's table. The courtroom was in chaos. Reporters quickly raised their cameras, trying to capture every second of the royal meltdown. "You think you'll get away with this?" Camila roared. "I will haunt every single one of you. Every single one." It was madness. Total madness. The judge had no choice but to adjourn the court immediately. Guards struggled to hold Camila back as she kicked and screamed. Later, analysts called it the most unhinged royal moment ever seen. And honestly, they weren't wrong. Who she attacked, targets of her wrath. Camila's rage knew no limits that day. She went after everyone she could see. But some people felt the heat more than others. First, it was the judge. She pointed her finger right at him and shouted, "You're corrupt! You were paid to do this. You'll burn for this." The judge, of course, stayed quiet, but his face said it all. He knew things had gone way out of control. Then came the royal aides. Camila called them snakes and traitors. She claimed they were the ones who sold her secrets to the media. "I fed you, clothed you, and this is how you repay me," she screamed. Next, she turned to Prince William and Kate. The entire courtroom went silent as she pointed at them. "You two have always been jealous. You plotted this. You wanted me gone from day one," she accused. Kate didn't react. William simply stared back, cold as ice. But the biggest betrayal, according to Camila, came from King Charles himself. She faced him with tears and fury in her eyes. "You threw me to the wolves, Charles, after everything I've done for you," she cried. "I made this family what it is." People in the room whispered that this wasn't just anger. It was years of bottled-up hate finally exploding. Old rivalries, hidden secrets, everything spilled out in front of the entire world. Royal family's reaction post-meltdown. Once Camila was dragged out of the courtroom, the royal family went into full damage control mode. They knew this was bad. Really bad. The palace released a short statement within hours. It said, "Her Majesty's actions were regrettable. The royal family remains committed to the law and the people." Cold. Emotionless. Almost like they had already erased her from their lives. Prince William later spoke to reporters. His words were simple but powerful. The monarchy must move forward. Just like that, he made it clear. Camila was done, and there was no coming back. Meanwhile, Rumors started swirling about King Charles. Some said he broke down in private. Others claimed he hadn't said a word since the sentencing. For a man who loved Camilla more than anyone, this was a nightmare. The media didn't hold back. Headlines screamed, "Queen Camilla's final shame." Newspapers sold out within hours. Polls showed her approval ratings had crashed to the lowest ever recorded for a royal. Camilla had officially become the most hated woman in Britain. What's next? For Camilla, prison life and legacy. With the trial over, the question everyone started asking was, what happens to Camilla now? Her life as queen was over. Now she was just another prisoner. Some papers called her prisoner number 001, the fallen queen. People imagined her sitting in a small prison cell, wearing a gray uniform, eating plain food. No jewels, no palace, just cold, empty walls. From queen to inmate, just like that. Some said Camilla was already planning her next move. Rumors spread that she would write a tell-all book from prison, a book that would expose every secret of the royal family. And you know what? People would buy it. They'd buy it just to know what really happens behind palace doors. There were also talks that she might give interviews from prison. Tabloids were offering millions for just one exclusive. And honestly, who wouldn't want to hear what she has to say? Then there's the question of Charles. Will he divorce her now? Can he even stay married to someone sitting in jail for life? Most experts say the divorce papers are probably already being drafted. One thing is clear. Camilla's royal title is gone. Stripped away. She's no longer queen. She's no longer anything. Just a name that will be remembered for all the wrong reasons. And the damage to the royal family? It's huge. Some say the monarchy may never recover from this. Others believe this is just the beginning of the end. The courtroom may have settled, but the chaos Queen Camilla unleashed will be remembered forever. A fall from power like this is something no one saw coming. Was this the real her all along? Or did the pressure finally break her? One thing is clear. This moment has changed everything.